Get ready to embark on an incredible adventure as NASA, the world's leading space agency, sets out on an extraordinary mission. Join them as they dare to construct the first ever moon base, pushing the boundaries of human exploration like never before. Brace yourself for an awe-inspiring journey that will redefine what it means to reach for the stars. So, what are your guesses about when this moon base will be fully operational? Stick till the end to find out the answer. We already know that NASA's Artemis III mission, which is hoped to launch as early as 2026, will bring the first humans back to the moon. More recently, NASA announced that Artemis IV will attempt a second rough landing beginning in 2027. A variant of the SpaceX Starship will serve as the human landing mechanism for both missions' trips to the lunar surface. 2 astronauts will stay in this lander for 5 days as their base of operations, which will be significantly longer than the already held record of 75 hours set by the crew of Apollo 17 in 1972 for the longest stay on the moon. The Starship is fortunately 9 meters in diameter for NASA. On these initial expeditions, the spacious and comfortable living quarters will be made possible by the imposing height. But merely residing on Starship won't suffice to build a long-term human presence on the moon. To construct the moon's infrastructure, they require a solid strategy. 4 astronauts will eventually live on the moon for up to a month at a time throughout the following decade of Artemis missions. According to NASA Associate Administrator Kathy Luters, astronauts will be more at ease with their ability to explore and study more of the moon than ever before with each subsequent mission. Luters wrote in a statement, "With more demand for access to the moon, we are developing the technologies to achieve an unprecedented human and robotic presence 240,000 miles from home. Our experience on the moon this decade will prepare us for an even greater adventure in the universe, human exploration of Mars." NASA revealed a new plan to build a pipeline on the moon in January 2023. The installation of the oxygen pipeline at the lunar South Pole would construct the first long-term human infrastructure there and mark the beginning of in situ resource use. The pipeline's purpose is to move high-quality oxygen from a source of production to a facility for storage close to the future lunar base. NASA has already created a method known as molten regolith electrolysis, or MRE, that will be used to extract particular components from lunar dust that has a lot of oxygen already stored in it. Human homes and pressurized rovers will be powered by oxygen, and it will also act as an oxidizing propellant for launch vehicles leaving the moon. The energy needed to transfer the stored oxygen around the surface in the rovers would actually be more intense than the energy needed to harvest the oxygen in the first place, making the method unsustainable, which is why NASA wants to create a pipeline. In order to deliver gaseous oxygen to the moon, NASA is proposing a 5-kilometer-long pipeline. The tube material would be robotically manufactured on the moon using in situ aluminum metal collected by MRE. As well as powering pressurized rovers in human habitation, the oxygen will also be used as an oxidizing propellant for launch vehicles that are taking off from the moon. NASA wants to construct a pipeline because using the rovers to move the stored oxygen over the surface would use more energy than it did to extract the oxygen in the first place, rendering the procedure unsustainable. Why did NASA decide to reach the moon within the next 3 years? Because they heard it was a great place to catch up on some lunardergarten. I know, that was a horrible joke, but if you are still hooked, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button. A fully automated machine that would extrude aluminum into a pipe with the same shape as rigatoni pasta is one of NASA's plans. This pipe could deliver up to 10,000 kilograms of oxygen per year to a lunar base at a flow rate of 2 kilograms per hour, which is what NASA predicts will be needed for a base that can support itself. Beginning in 2024, these oxygen extraction technologies are scheduled to be extensively tested on the moon and will directly assist the Artemis astronauts beginning in 2026. NASA granted a $57 million contract in November 2022 to create a technology for building on the moon's surface. Icon, a pioneer in cutting-edge building technology and large-scale 3D printing, will receive that money. 2018 saw Icon complete the first entirely 3D printed home in the country. At the Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas, the Icon started construction on Mars Dune Alpha in 2021. NASA astronauts will practice in the 1,700 square foot facility, which replicates a true Mars habitat as they get ready for protracted space trips. The Olympus project is Icon's most recent effort to conduct research and develop systems and space-based structures to facilitate future lunar and extraterrestrial exploration. In order to support NASA's plans to maintain a long-term lunar presence, the Olympus system of the symbol is designed to be a multi-purpose construction system that largely uses native lunar and Martian resources as building materials. It is proposed to melt lunar regolith to create a base similar to cement that can be applied by a fully automated 3D printing robot. In order to aid Icon in the development of its manufacturing procedure, NASA has actually given them samples of actual moon dust that were gathered during the Apollo program. A resin-like substance that can be cured and hardened by UV light from the sun will be blended with the regolith. Project Olympus's initial demonstration, which might come as early as 2026, would be a significant turning point for human society, the first habitat we constructed on another planet. Along with roads and landing pads, Icon is also creating a lunar surface infrastructure system. Despite what one of the biggest might believe, these are more significant. Dust generation will be one of humanity's biggest effects on the moon's surface, a great deal of dust. During a spaceship landing on the moon, it has been calculated that the force of the engines might raise 1 million pounds of surface debris. Likewise, when driving, rovers and pressurized habitat vehicles will create a lot of surface dust. So it's actually better to build sturdy landing pads and roads in order to lessen our impact on the moon's ecosystem. The following generation of lunar rovers will utilize those new lunar roadways. After Artemis III, maybe as soon as Artemis IV, the Lunar Terrain Vehicle, or LTV, is slated to land on the moon. The style of the vehicle is quite reminiscent to side-by-side all-terrain vehicles, which are frequently employed for farming and hunting. Astronauts behind the wheel or a remote control might operate the rover. Even the idea that this could operate as an autonomous vehicle is being tested by NASA. Additionally, this means that NASA can utilize the LTV to carry out the mission or science-related tasks even if there aren't any people on the moon. It will be instrumental in searching for water ice and other lunar resources, which in turn will help NASA select the best site for the more permanent elements of the base camp. NASA's Habitable Mobility Platform is a step further, which would be the first rover under pressure to have a separate life support system. The astronauts of the Apollo era struggled with microscopic lunar regolith particles irritatingly piercing their suits because liquid water has never existed on the moon. The rocks up there are extremely jagged and spiky rather than smooth and rounded like those on Earth. It will be very amazing to watch all of these initiatives come together over the following 10 years. As a multi-planetary species, humanity is currently being built up piece by piece. What do you think would be the outcome after 10 years?